What up, Wastelanders? Christopher here, Gaslands, NorCal. Thanks for joining me once again for another conversion video. Now, a few weeks ago, I did a video using a different kind of weathering rusting technique using panel liner and the pigment powder, but at that time I only had the black panel liner, and the instructions that I saw on YouTube said use the brown one. Well, at the time I didn't have the brown, but guess what? I got the brown one. So this time we are going to do that same method using, actually following the directions, surprise, surprise, and using the brown panel liner. With the other build that I did it on a much larger scale model. This time I'm going back to the die cast, going to be doing it on this 70s van. We're going to strip it all down, take it all apart, paint it up a little bit, maybe do some stripes and stuff, make a little bit of detail. Then we're going to start getting into weathering and everything else. I mean, it's from the 70s. It's like, 50 some odd years old. So first things first, we got to get this baby apart, get her into the stripper. Alright, so we're all primed up and ready to go. After I stripped it and started to prime it, I noticed that, if you can see, there's some areas where the paint from before it didn't come off, and I was kind of thinking I'm going to have to strip it again and do it all over, but I'm going to leave them on there and see if I can get some texture out of it when I lay down the next coat of paint, which of course I'm going to be using the Monument Hobbies paint for. The paint color I'm going to be using is going to be this faded green, so we'll get that all sprayed up and then we'll see how that looks. Got all the ram and the wheels and some spikes. Got some armor and stuff ready to go. We'll get all painted up and dry brushed in silver like I normally do. But first, let's get this one painted up in the faded green, and then we'll see how it looks moving on to the next step. Alright, now we're all painted up, and you can probably tell it's a little bit darker than the original paint I had on there. Just wasn't really vibing with the pale green, so I mixed in a little bit of the green yellow, and yeah, this, to me, I like how it looks a lot better. I think it's going to go a lot smoother and look a lot sharper with the Agrax I'm going to throw on there next, and then with the weathering techniques that I'm going to use on there, so that'll pop out a little bit more. But yeah, so next I'm going to hit up with some Agrax just to get the shadows and the nooks and crannies all to pop out before we move on and doing the chipping part of it before we get on to the weathering with the panel liner stuff. I'm going to be using, of course, the MIG by Jiminez, just their chipping stuff on there. And I'm really going to be hitting these areas the hardest because I want it to be very, very, a lot of brown on there to do the next step, which is going to be the panel liner stuff. So first, let's get some Agrax on there, and then we'll let that dry a little bit, and then we'll hit it with the chipping, and then we'll move on to getting more of the rusting on there with the panel liner and the pigment powder. Looking good so far. Alright, I got the brown chipping area all done. Just looking old as is, looking really good so far. Definitely a 70s van, like it's been sitting out in the barn somewhere since the 70s. So the next step is to get the panel liner brown on there, and try not to spill it all over yourself. And then we will put the pigment on there and let it dry before we dust it off. So we get the brown on there, and then put on the pigment, and we'll see how it goes. Alright, so the panel liner's all dried and the pigment's all on there. Keep that there is a lot of fumes and everything, and the pigments, keep it well ventilated. Wear a mask if you need to. But yeah, so wait 5-10 minutes for it to dry off after you put everything on there, and it just looks like a rusty old mess. So now we're just going to go ahead and dust it off and see what it looks like afterwards, and then we will keep on moving on. Looking good so far. Alright, So we're all dried up and ready to be put back together. Yeah, looking very, very rusty, looking very like it's been sitting somewhere, just rusting out since the 70s. So let's get her back together, and then we'll start getting the armor and the weapons and everything on there, and we'll get her rolling out to the Wastelands. Alright, we're all back together. Looking really good, looking very much like a 70s van that's been sitting in a barn or out in the weather or something. I'm gonna go ahead and get the turn signals and stuff on there, get the headlights and stuff done. Probably covered up by the RAM, but I just like doing it anyway. It finishes it for me. May go ahead and do some bullet holes in the windshield, just to give it a little bit more of the weathering effect. But yeah, we'll start getting this back together. But yeah, looking really good so far. Loving how that weathering technique turns out. I'm gonna have to start using that more in the future. Looking good. Let's get her back together. Alright, we're all back together, looking really good. That RAM is just awesome. Loving those spikes. Got the bullet holes in the windshield. Gonna do a little bit more of the rust because the armor just looks too new for the rest of the build. So once we get that done, then she will be ready to go for the Wastelands. Get a little more dusting on there. Good to hook. Looking outstanding. Alright, and there we have it. One Wasteland 70 van, all rusted up and looking like it's going to fit into the Wastelands, into the apocalypse just fine. Looks like it's been sitting in a garage for a while. It's got a big old weapon on the top, turret-mounted heavy machine gun, got some spikes. Loving that RAM with the spikes on there. But yeah, everything just came together really well. Really like the panel liner effect with the powder and stuff. Gives it a really good rest effect. But overall, love how this thing turned out. Looking really good. If you enjoyed this video, if you learned something, please do me a favor and hit that like button. My goal is to do weekly videos, whether they're vehicle builds, terrain builds, whatever. So if that's for you, please hit the sub button below and ring the bell to get notified when new content drops. I do sell all my builds pretty inexpensively on my Etsy page, so if you want to see what I've done, check out what else has been done, or you can even request a custom build. Until next time, keep your foot on the gas and your finger on the trigger. Gaslands NorCal, signing out.